But hey, let's talk about the Burning Crusade Hardcore. Will E made a video on this. Hardcore WoW is back in TBC. Should you play? I will say I'm a little bit sad we don't have official TBC hardcore servers. I think this is a huge missed opportunity by Blizzard due to the amount of publicity that things like OnlyFans brings, and the community as well when it comes to hardcore servers. Having to use an add-on to do it generates way less hype and also less like authenticity when it comes to hardcore as well. So big missed opportunity, huge L, but I'm glad to see people that are still doing TBC hardcore, and I can't wait for OnlyFans Season 3. Either way, let's check out this video. Better than you think, okay?
The hardcore challenge is back, and this time it's for the Burning Crusade. With TBC Anniversary Edition launching, it'll once again be time to go again and see how far you can get. If you played hardcore during Vanilla Classic or on the official hardcore servers, this is gonna feel both familiar and refreshing at the same time, because I feel as though TBC brings enough to change the leveling experience, the class design and the endgame systems in ways that even if you've done this before, it's still going to feel relatively new. Today I'm going to talk about exactly how to play TBC hardcore, what the rules are, why the new races and zones are ideal for this challenge, the interest of the new professions, and overall what makes TBC as a hardcore game feel different from vanilla.
To be fair, before he talks about the rules, by the way, I will say there's many different ways to do this. You can either use the TBC Hardcore add-on, in which case you have self-found, the guild found, or just like no rules also, or you can simply use the Soul of Iron buff. Blizzard has gone the additional step of putting Soul of Iron into TBC, and I think that's lovely, by the way. It's still not enough if you ask me. We should have had actual hardcore servers, but at least Soul of Iron is a step in the right direction, which means if anybody wants to play TBC hardcore, just go to the NPC, activate Soul of Iron and play. That's all you have to do. And then on top of that, you can impose additional challenges like not using the auction house, not trading, not doing dungeons, you name it, right? Additional personal challenges on top as well. But I will say TBC Hardcore is challenging enough by itself.
And why this might be a perfect time for you to jump back into the challenge. So TBC Hardcore isn't happening on any dedicated servers as we've had for the past few years. Instead, you'll be rolling on the regular PvE Anniversary realms either on EU or NA depending on your region. Blizzard has re-enabled the NPCs that allow you to pick up the Soul of Iron buff. These NPCs were first added way back in Season of Mastery in 2021, just after the original TBC Classic release. For players, you'll find them in Orgrimmar and the Undercity, and Alliance in Darnassus and Ironforge. Now the Soul of Iron buff is just cosmetic, but it's very much better than nothing, and it shows that you've never died, so you can at a glance tell whether somebody is a real hardcore character or not. You'll also need the Hardcore TBC add-on, which you can just grab from CurseForge. This add-on has the official rule set and tracking for your character built in, similar to how the vanilla add-on worked way before we got official servers. The rules are pretty straightforward.
This is like where things gets optional, right? You don't need to have this add-on. If you have Soul of Iron, you already showcase that you're hardcore, but the add-on is a good thing to have to impose additional challenges as well, and then certain hardcore guilds might require the add-on, but not everybody will.
With death equals delete, you must have the Hardcore TBC add-on enabled at all times. Trading is allowed this time, but you can only trade within your guild or with other guilds that your GM has specific.
Death equals delete. If your character dies, you must delete and start over. You must have the Hardcore TBC add-on enabled at all times, no exceptions. You may trade only with your guild or with other guilds allowed by your GM. The auction house is completely off limits. Dungeons prior to max level are on a daily lockout that resets at 10 AM server. Your gameplay is monitored and audited. Violations will be tracked and reported. Okay, dude.
Specifically allowed. The auction house is completely off limits, and finally dungeons that are prior to max level are on a daily lockout that resets at 10 AM server time. The trading rules are actually way more lenient than the original hardcore community rules. Back during the unofficial hardcore days, it was typically zero trading whatsoever and everyone was completely self-found. Now you can trade within your guild and with other approved guilds, which means you don't have to be fully self-found unless you want to be, I suppose. The reason for blocking the auction house is pretty obvious though, since these aren't dedicated hardcore servers. You could just go to the auction house with what little silver you have and buy a ton of upgrades, which would not be within the spirit of the challenge. And for finding a guild, you just ask in general chat after you log in, it shouldn't be too difficult. And I think despite us not having official servers, at the end of the day, hardcore is a self-assigned challenge. If you can't help but cheat in a challenge you've set for yourself in a video game, maybe this just isn't for you. And it's always been primarily a leveling challenge. I feel as though a lot of people really think about the super late game obstacles that will come up and fail to realize that most characters meet an untimely end somewhere around level 20 or so. But
this right here is a problem that I have when it comes to TBC Hardcore and the community reactions against it, because people kept saying that TBC Hardcore is impossible. Think about the raids and think about heroic dungeons. And I'm here like, bro, have you played Classic WoW Hardcore in like regular vanilla WoW Classic? The percentage of the player base actually raiding on Hardcore is probably 1%. 99% of people think about this as a leveling challenge. A lot of people simply quit when they get to level 60. They have now completed the challenge in their own eyes, and they start playing softcore or like regular classic instead, and just like, it's a leveling challenge for them. And then a lot of people die before level 60 as well. Like 1% of the player base is raiding on hardcore. Maybe slightly more, but like I would say between less than 1% and 2%. So if we're worrying about raids and heroic dungeons in TBC, where like leveling to 70 is even harder now than leveling to level 60, it's gonna be an even smaller percentage of the player base, which means that you are worrying about a problem for the 1%. So if people are saying that official hardcore servers should not come out because of heroic raids, or not heroic dungeons, or regular raids being too hard, that is a problem for the 1%. I don't think we should be centering our arguments around the 1%.
For everyone who wants that genuine sense of risk and reward in a new challenge, this sounds pretty interesting.
Yeah, they also said the same thing, by the way, that Next Ramus is impossible on hardcore in Classic as well. Like, if you just zoom back 2 years in time, a lot of people said Next Ramus is impossible on hardcore. Guess what? Now we have 2 guilds, at least that I know of, that has done Next Ramus on hardcore without world buffs. So, I'm just saying.
Interesting to me. TBC, of course, introduces 2 new races, Blood Elves for the Horde and Draenei for the Alliance, along with each faction now having access to the Paladin and Shaman classes, and both starting zones are legitimately excellent hardcore experiences. We'll start with the Blood Elf experience. You'll begin in the Eversong Woods before moving on into the Ghostlands, and Ghostlands is equally one of the most challenging and rewarding zones for hardcore players. You've got a lot of high-speed enemies such as lynxes, you have fast respawns in certain areas, it's full of undead, which of course you can't fear, and there are roaming elites too that can catch you off guard. But with the danger comes rewards, and the rewards are absolutely worth it. The new quest rewards for TBC starting zones are genuinely good, and you're given a choice of items which makes sense for whatever class you'll be playing. There is also a new faction tied to the leveling zone called Tranquillian. You'll want to make sure you're visiting the Quartermaster as you level this reputation up, because at each new tier you'll be able to buy a pretty cheap item that's super powerful, and by the time you finish the zone you'll be exalted as well. Ghostlands even has elite quests that are absolutely worth doing with a small group, and the end of zone quest rewards are some rare quality weapons. By the time you finish the Ghostlands you'll be around level 20 already, which is some great progression, and it's
Dude, I love the Blood Elf starting zone, by the way. The Blood Elf starting zone is such a cool place, both Eversong Woods and Gal Ghostlands. I'm kinda sad that I'm playing Alliance right now for TBC's pre-patch. I would have loved to be a Horde and just experience Blood Elf again, but hey, I enjoyed the Draenei starting zone as well.
Going to save you a lot of running through the Barrens. For Draenei, you'll start on Azure Mistile before progressing back and forth between there and Blood Mistile. These zones mirror the Blood Elf experience in terms of quality and quantity of content. The Draenei zones are both packed with great quest chains and gear upgrades. Also, if you're rolling a Shaman, you'll complete all of your totem quests in these 2 zones instead of having to run all the way across the map. The Earth, Fire and Water totems will all be completed by level 20, however you'll have to venture out of this zone and come back to do Call of Air because you need level 30. And similar to Ghostlands,
I mean, he said that you'll be completing all of them in this zone, which is true. but you still have to like travel outside of the zone to do the quests. You pick them up here, yes, but you do have to travel a bit. So for example, for the water quest, at some point you have to go to Ashenvale, which, to be fair, isn't the longest walk anyway. The Horde one is way worse when you have to go from the Barrens to Tarren Mill or something, right? That is a long travel time. For Alliance, though, you just have to go from Exodar, basically, to Ashenvale, which, assuming you don't have the flight pass already, which you probably don't, that is a 15-minute adventure. Maybe 10 as well, depending on the boat timings.
You'll be around level 20 by the time you finish this zone. Both starting experiences are very much worth a playthrough either way though. Next up, since you can trade with guildies in TBC Hardcore, profession choices just became a lot more interesting. It's gonna be much easier to level things like alchemy or engineering when you can trade, and of course there is the new profession that's been introduced, Jewelcrafting. And Jewelcrafting for hardcore characters, as it would turn out, is pretty good. First let's talk stone statues. These are new items Jewelcrafters can make that provide healing over time. There's rough stone statues at low skill levels that heal for 120 over 8 ticks, coarse stone statues that heal for 225 total, 15 health over 15 seconds, and heavy stone statues for 375 total healing. There are higher ranks as well. Now if you compare that to a standard healing potion that's 280 to 360 health, they're actually not bad, but here's the thing that makes them extra interesting is they're on a separate cooldown from your healing potion. And if you're going mining to complement Jewelcrafting, which you'll basically have to, then you'll be getting rough stone that you'll be stockpiling up that you can use on these. For hardcore, having multiple sources of healing can absolutely be the difference between life and death, and being able to drop a stone statue is going to allow you to tank just that little bit longer. Beyond stone statues, Jewelcrafting provides early access to some really good rings and necklaces. In Classic WoW, typically you don't get good rings or neck upgrades for a very long time. Now I will say this does improve in TBC and Blizzard.
Yeah, some of the rings, by the way, are absolutely insane. You can now get a 20 attack power ring at, I think, level 37, which, if you're, like, self-found, that isn't, like, you only get those when you do Moradin, if you get the ring, which everybody wants to have if they're, like, an attack power class, so that one is really competitive. Now you can just craft them. You have 2 different crafted ones, I believe, giving you 20 attack power each. The Aquamarine Signet, and what is the next one? I don't know, but like the Aquamarine Signet, you can both get strength, agility, and attack power. So it's even better than just a Mara ring, for example. Except for the hit points. Yeah, you know.
Give these items away a bit more than they used to, but still when you have Jewelcrafting, you can get one of these items for certain. For example, at the lowest 75 skill, you can craft a brilliant necklace using 4 bronze bar, a bronze setting, and 1 moss agate. This gives you a ton of stats for the level range. Another good one is Ring of Silver Might that only needs 2 silver bars and gives you 3 strength and 4 stamina. Obviously you can wear 2 of these as they're non-unique and they're rings. And for casters, Ring of Twilight.
Wait.
It only needs 2 silver bars and gives you 3 strength and 4 stamina. Obviously you can wear 2 of these as they're non-unique.
Wait, obviously you can wear 2 of these as they're obviously non-unique equipped, while showing a visual on the screen saying unique equipped. Okay.
Ring of Silver Might that only needs 2 silver bars and gives you 3 strength and 4 stamina. Obviously you can wear 2 of these as they're non-unique and they're rings.
I think based on that you can't wear 2 of these because they are unique equipped, right? Because I mean, for the Aquamarine Signet as well that I have, let me just like go out of the game real quick so I can show you guys, or not go out of the game, go out of the video. This right here, Aquamarine Signet as well, unique equipped. I think most of the crafted gear through Jewelcrafting is actually unique, so you can only use one of the rings. I'm pretty sure almost all of the rings are, if not actually all of them. I kind of want to say that all of them are from Jewelcrafting.
And
Oh
for
well.
casters, Ring of Twilight uses 2 shadow gems and 2 bronze bars, and that has 4 stamina and 4 intellect.
Don't
Later
say
on,
it.
there are some really
Okay.
interesting on-use items too, such as Aquamarine Pendant of the Warrior. This gives you 20 attack power and 15 stamina to your entire party. Or what about Figurine Golden Hair that gives you an 8% movement speed boost passively? That's the same as having the move speed enchant on your boots at all times, and it has
Yeah.
a mini sprint effect on use with a freedom component on a 20-minute cooldown. Items like these are what makes hardcore so interesting. Usually all these niche items would just be forgotten about or dismissed as not worth the effort of making, but in hardcore where the challenge is right from level 1 to level cap, these are things you're gonna care about and stop to make them. The one thing I will have to admit, because I'm sure to see comments about it, is Jewelcrafting overall better than engineering for hardcore? Well, the answer still is probably not, but I do think it is a very good profession, and if you're playing a hardcore character, especially a Draenei who get bonus Jewelcrafting skill, you should absolutely give it a try out and see what you think. On top of that, TBC brought massive updates to class design, fixing or improving specs that felt weak during vanilla leveling, and adding so many powerful capstone talents that completely changed how certain specs played. Just think about some of the big new headline class abilities that you get. Retribution Paladins with Crusader Strike, Shadow Priests with Vampiric Touch, Mages get Summon Water Elemental, Warlocks get access to Felguard, and so many more. These aren't just minor improvements, they're build-defining abilities that
Yeah, like, a lot of people have been talking about this, but for hardcore, I don't think people understand how good and valuable this is. Like, it makes leveling so much easier when you just always have such huge changes to your class that really give you more mobility, better DPS, better survivability. Like, being a pot paladin is way better now, so you can finally tank dungeons, for example. Being a paladin in general is way better in TBC than it is in Classic, and many other classes as well. Just small changes to everything really improves your class, and you feel it really early, by the way, for many classes as well.
Fundamentally changed these specs, and there were certain specs in vanilla that were so underwhelming, even during leveling people tended to never pick them, and I'm gonna have to pick on an example here, such as the Balance Druid, whose ability to do practically no damage whilst running out of mana was second to none. In TBC, this is a much more viable spec to level with, but beyond these new abilities, there were so many crucial baseline changes that applied to a bunch of different classes. Paladins have Taunt and Consecration baseline, Mages get Ice Block without having to go down the Frost talent tree, Warriors get Stance Mastery so they can save a bit of rage when they swap stances, and so on. The talent trees themselves were reworked to still maintain that classic feel whilst giving you something genuinely impactful to look forwards to at level 50 when you reached your capstone talent. For hardcore specifically, these class changes mean that more specs are really viable for solo leveling. You're not pigeonholed into thinking, I have to play an enhancement shaman or I have to play a feral druid if you wanted to level up for those classes. There is a lot more choice now, and I think that's going to be something worth experiencing. TBC also didn't just update the world with Outland, it also made significant changes to the vanilla world that directly impact the leveling experience, which is especially important for hardcore players. One of the most appreciated additions is the new Flight Pass. There's a new flight point in Northern Stranglethorn Vale for the Alliance, and equally one in Southern Felwood for Alliance players. These two save
And we have the one in Dustwall Marsh as well. Yeah, like, having more flight paths is such a good quality of life, by the way. Especially like the ones he's pointing out here, the one in Southern Felwood and in Stranglethorn Vale, are insane. They matter so much. And the one in Dustwallow as well, in Mudsprocket, which I believe is both for Horde and for Alliance, just makes questing in Dustwallow way easier. You don't have to like swim in between now. You can just fly from like Southern Dustwallow to back to Theramore for Alliance, right? And for the Horde, I guess you still have the one in Mudsprocket to fly back to, I forget what the name is, but you know, the Horde City in Dustwallow.
an enormous amount of time running through those two zones, which took a notoriously long time to traverse. Dustswallow Marsh also got a major update with a new quest hub called Mudsprocket. This comes with
I will say, by the way, Dustwallow went from being such a trash zone in Classic to so good in the pre-patch. You do like 2 levels in Dustwallow, 37 to 39. You can just sit in Dustwallow and do 2 levels. It feels like a small version of Stranglethorn Vale, or like an early version of Unagoro. because all you do is pick up all the quests, do one lap, hand in everything, pick up all the follow-ups, do one more lap and hand in everything. So in 2 laps of the Dust Swallow, you level up 2 levels. It's really efficient and feels really good.
With about 60 new quests for both factions for players around the 30.
Like, Dust Swallow to me, sorry to be pausing a lot by the way, but the way they have done Dust Swallow from Classic WoW to TBC's pre-patch is what I want in Classic Plus. Take zones like this, that kind of feels like they're lacking something in Classic, and add a bunch of quests, add a questing hub, add some cool stuff, and here we go. Do the exact same thing you've done to Dust Swallow, and do that to Ashara, and now we're talking.
35 to 40 level range. Another big change for hardcore players is what happened to elite zones. So places such as Jinthralor in the Hinterlands or Strongard Keep in the Arathi Highlands are no longer categorized as elite. The mobs there are now normal, which means they're much easier to go and clear solo. Whilst there is a debate over whether that's good or bad, it certainly makes things easier and safer. There are still of course elite quests in the game, but they're much more focused around go and kill one elite mob instead of being sent to a subzone where everything is elite. The updated quest rewards are also notable. Dungeon quest rewards were bumped up in quality, making them even more worth doing, and several dungeon boss drops were re-itemized or upgraded in quality too. Quest experience was increased for level 30 to 60 content, and you need less XP per level between 20 and 62. On top of all that, you can also buy your mount at level 30 as well, down from 40, and it will be a bit cheaper. So overall though, TBC is
leveling is a lot faster in the pre-patch, by the way. I saw some person, not gonna say who, but somebody who's spent way too much time leveling in Classic WoW that should probably know how much faster it is, said that it's 20% faster in TBC's pre-patch compared to Classic WoW. I can tell you, it's way more than 20. It's probably between 30 and 50, depending on the class you play. So for example, my shaman got to level 60 in 70 hours /played as an enhancement shaman. Usually in Classic, I already have one shaman by the way with the same amount of hours played on the Horde side. I'm 49. I'm lacking 11 levels, and those levels are also long levels. So from level 50 to 60, most people spend 4 hours per level. In the TBC's pre-patch, if you have rested XP, the leveling add-on, and you know what you're doing, I'm spending about 1.5 hours per level in those last 10 levels. So I'm just saying, it's way faster than 20% increase. It's between 30 and 50, depending on your class. And if your class is like a mage where you're AoE farming a lot, it's slightly not, like, it's closer to 30 or 25 maybe. If you're a hunter, it is really fast, because now you are just questing, and no downtime either. It's so good.
Focused on the outline content, there are a bunch of changes that came to vanilla too, but the biggest reason for me why you should try hardcore is just how it forces you to approach the game completely differently. And whilst TBC isn't too distant from vanilla in terms of its core systems, it's changed enough to genuinely be new and interesting. Low-level content will remain relevant and active because there's always a mix of new players leveling and working on ults. The new rules around trading make leveling professions and sharing items way easier than it was in original hardcore. Being able to trade within your guild has huge benefits and encourages you to group up and trade items between one another. Another benefit for hardcore is that you really don't need to min-max that much. Most characters just aren't going to make it to max level. If you're playing a suboptimal...
Is this an AI video? Yo, bro, don't let Will E see your comment. Holy. Bro's gonna be pissed.
Race for doing DPS at level cap, it's not a big deal. You can just genuinely roll whatever class and spec you think is fun or interesting and take it on as a personal challenge, and I think that freedom is refreshing. The updated classes and specs mean that more things are genuinely viable. You're not stuck saying, okay, I pretty much have to.
Do you do green, yellow quests? It depends. I follow rested XP for the most part, the leveling guide and the leveling add-on. And what I've noticed is that sometimes you do green, for the most part you do yellow, and when it makes sense you do purples as well. It's way more about pathing than doing like certain level brackets of quests, if that makes sense. It's all about like doing quests when they make sense according to the path you're taking.
to roll this for leveling because it's just so much better than my other damage dealing specs. Oh, and on top of that, there's dual specialization, so you can go into 2 different specs. Another benefit of hardcore is that prestige will return to late game content in a way that it typically doesn't in classic. In TBC during 2021 and
Yo, wait, I saw, let me go back here. Do we see him soon?
in a way that it typically doesn't.
Yo, look, it's Mincy! It's Mincy W. Do we see anybody else here who I know? Not really. I see Mincy. I'm assuming that's Mincy.
In classic. In TBC during 2021 and 2,
Any, am I there somewhere? I mean, this is probably the public test realm. Chances are we see me as well. I don't know.
people have Bisc gear, legendaries, and had cleared
Yo, this right here, by the way, was such a cool moment in TBC Classic.
all the content. Raiding in TBC became pretty routine. It was more challenging than vanilla, but a lot of people got through it. But imagine seeing a hardcore character with TBC heroic dungeon gear or raiding gear, Ashes of Alar, Warglaives. Imagine being that guy. That being said, you really shouldn't worry about raiding, as I've mentioned a few times. The game is still very good without it. The leveling experience, the challenge of getting to 70, and the community interactions, that's where the core of hardcore lives. It's always been about that. Raiding is a bonus if you're good enough. Hardcore also makes the game become slower paced. You take more care with pulls, you're trading items that drop with guildies, you're helping each other out, and you're playing around a community. It's not all about rushing to maximum level and playing as though the game is a critical path where you can get Bisc gear and log out as soon as possible. It's just a different way to play, a slower paced one, and I think for a lot of people, a pace which is more fitting. But of course, once you reach Outland, assuming you do, and start questing through Hellfire Peninsula, you'll find the challenge will ramp up significantly. The mobs will hit harder, the quest design is far less explored on the hardcore challenge, and there are plenty of elite quests too, and of course Mr. Fellreaver who's waiting for you ominously. Leveling from 60 to 70 will be the ultimate test of your hardcore skills and your ability to assess the situation and play safe. But that for me is what makes it exciting. Getting a character to 60 proves that you still got it, getting it to 70 is proof that you've mastered the challenge. Overall, I think TBC Hardcore is definitely worth checking out. The combination of TBC's improved class design, better zone flow, and the hardcore rule set creates something that both feels nostalgic and worth coming back to, and fresh at the same time. If you're interested in hearing more about TBC Hardcore, drop a comment down below letting me know and I'll see what I can do. During TBC Classic, I did level every class from 60 to 70 in the open world, so I know a thing or two about where is dangerous during this expansion. But let me know what you think about the challenge and whether you're going to give it a go this time around. And, as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening in, and I'll see you all in the next one very soon.
Alright dudes, there we go, TBC Hardcore hype. To be fair, I'm probably only gonna play TBC Hardcore, by the way, if I end up being in OnlyFans or anything else, but even then it depends a lot on the timing. I don't know, I played a lot of Hardcore Classic WoW. TBC Hardcore to me doesn't feel the same without an actual hardcore server, so I don't know how to feel. I feel like once again it's such a missed opportunity to not have hardcore servers. The amount of marketing they bring from like the classic WoW hardcore moments YouTube channel, for example, and those videos as well being watched by every single classic WoW content creator, either on Twitch as streaming content or even in reaction content as well. Lots of publicity there alone. And then we have OnlyFans. They bring in as many viewers or more viewers than retail Race to World First does. It is a golden marketing opportunity that Blizzard doesn't care about, and it's weird to see, man. But yeah, we'll see if I end up playing. Yo, good morning gamers, yo Dread, good morning. It's not really a on launch thing though. Yeah, I think it's gonna be summer, especially OnlyFans. I mean, TBC Hardcore is a on launch thing. There's already 2 fully guilds on the Alliance side on Thunderstrike that are doing TBC Law and TBC Hardcore on launch. They already have a bunch of people. But OnlyFans is more of a summer thing, I think. Like in May, June, July, I would assume. But many people do it at launch as well.